What's up, big man?
What's going on? Man, we look official, don't we? We in here.
Look at us. Look at us go. I'm glad to see you smile because we got to get together and watch a little Steelers game while you were in town.
And it was
your positive pants.
Positive pants, man. They gave me a lot to smile about these last 2 weeks, man. It's been good to come into the new year actually with something positive, and it's all due to the positive pants, man. They fit so well these days.
Well, I'm gonna put an end to that today because I'm gonna grind your gears. We're gonna do grind my gears later. NFL Hall of Fame talk.
Right.
I thought that might have been your grind my gears.
It is. It has something to do with it, but we shall see, man. Because you know how I feel about a certain number 86 for the Steelers, man. I think he got shafted once again, but
yeah,
we shall talk about that.
College football playoffs. My gears are grinding. Worst bowl season ever for me.
Ever by far.
And for me personally, as a fan, I got kicked in the nuts one game after another, all bowl season long.
I usually do pretty good, but just from an entertainment standpoint, the bowl games were horrible. I mean, we had a Pop-Tart bowl, we had a AutoZone bowl. I mean, all these sponsors, I get it, but it just
awful. It's too much.
It's too much.
My Browns are in the playoffs. It's Happy New Year. We haven't got this talk until you were traveling up, coming to see me. I made you a little present that we'll get into later in the show. I pay my debts. I paid up on my debts. And I got to meet up with you. We went to a little what was it?
Tilted Kilt, man.
What?
It was
Tilted Kilt. What? Or Twin Peaks.
Oh, Twin Peaks. Yeah, you're right.
Twin Peaks.
There is a difference.
It was in the old Tilted Kilt. There's a slight difference. Boots, I guess. Not a whole lot of difference.
Little flannels, shorter shorts, maybe.
Not a whole lot of difference.
But no, that was fun. We got up. I got to claim my prize from the bet we made last week, man.
Had a few adult beverages.
We both came into the new year with some smiles on our faces, man. Your Browns are going into the weekend with a meaningless game. Because y'all already clinched the playoffs, man. It's crazy.
Mighty Joe Flacco and the league MVP Myles Garrett doing the Lord's work.
But despite all that, despite the positive pants that I've managed to put on that fit so well these last 2 weeks, my Steelers have added another episode to what we call the Steelers soap opera these days. Did your parents watch As the World Turns or General Hospital or Days of Our Lives?
My grandmother did. So funny story. I think I saw you tweet about this also. When I was a kid, my grandparents lived in Washington, D.C. I would go inner city of Washington, D.C. And the bad side of Capitol Hill, not the kind of the dangerous side of Capitol Hill.
Right.
And for whatever reason, I think back now and I'm like, you guys had me at 8 years old walking around the streets of Capitol. I would never, my kids walking around the streets of Washington, D.C. Yes. But they lived in this 8-story apartment building, and my grandmother would send me over. They were the managers of this apartment building. She would send me over to pick up their lunch from this little place. I was 8, 9, 10 years old. It was outside the barbed wire fence that protected the property.
Okay.
And
seems
I'd
a
have
little
to
dangerous.
walk. Yeah, I'd have to walk back in with the food. And my grandmother is the manager of this property. She had a conference room and she just sat there and watched Days of Our Lives and As the World Turns.
Oh, yeah.
All of that stuff. My grandfather ran the maintenance department and my grandmother ran the pay and rent department. And my grandfather was out changing light bulbs and stuff. My grandmother's in there smoking her cigarettes and watching her soap operas and her stories.
Dude,
all day
soap
long.
operas were serious. I mean, you got people today that have been watching the same soap opera for 20 years. I don't know if they're still on or being in syndication or whatever, but
before Price is Right or whatever comes on, I'm sure it's out there.
There's that time frame between 10 and 2 where I could not touch the TV because you had Price is Right. Then you had one of the other game shows, and then you had 2 or 3 hours
Was it
straight.
Let's Make a Deal or something?
Probably one of those. But
can we pause real quick and give it up for our grandparents' generation? By the way, we are in a time with we've had DVR, our whole adult life. in either Netflix, DVR, TiVo, back when I was like a teenager, we've been able to find a way to watch what we want and record our, even with a VCR, you could pop a tape in. The commitment of our grandparents to sit down and never, if you missed the story on Days of Our Lives, you were not catching
You were getting it back. There's no way.
You were done.
Like,
and you were
just
shunned.
missed out on the whole storyline.
Your group of friends looked at you like you were a peon because you didn't see what happened with Victor. And
oh man, Victor.
You know there was a Victor. There's always a Victor.
There's always a Victor.
Smashing the divorcees.
All the aunts. All the sisters. All the stepper wives. Victor was getting them all.
So give it up to our grandparents' generation because they never missed a beat. Now you never miss a beat with your Steelers locker room.
Oh man. Look, man, we don't won 2 weeks in a row. Our offense has looked as good as it has been, but it has not come without drama. And so I don't know if you've heard the latest episode in the soap opera. I have not missed the episode.
It's my favorite soap opera too, because it's normally my locker room, and now I get to watch your locker room too.
So this week, there is a report, and I heard from multiple people, but Mark Madden was the one who just came out the other day with the fact that it was rumored that Kenny Pickett refused to dress and back up Mason Rudolph because he was mad because a promise was made to him that he would be starting if he was healthy enough. And apparently he was healthy enough as of last Thursday. And Tomlin made the executive decision to sit Kenny Pickett behind Mason Rudolph because he obviously had the hot hand. When I heard it initially, it did not vibe with anything that I ever thought about Kenny Pickett. By all accounts, he is a great locker room guy, great leader, hardest working, always says the right things. His teammates love him. So when I heard this, I was like, this is completely out of character. But I understand being frustrated, and I understand the fact that he probably feels some type of way seeing how Mason Rudolph saved Christmas and got us back into the playoff race. He felt some type of way because maybe he didn't get the presents that he wanted on Christmas, and Rudolph got all the love after Christmas Day for doing what he did, and our offense just really blew up. And so when I heard the initial report,
he's been sent to the island of misfit toys. Poor kid.
He has, man. He has. And so I didn't think that anybody, like, who would have the gall, the audacity to go up to your head coach and be like, nah, I'm not dressing. I don't want to be a backup because you promised me that would be that just didn't seem right to me. But if it had been him, if he had got to that point of frustration, I was about to be done with him because you don't do that. You don't do that when your team is in the hunt for the playoffs. Albeit we need some help, but you don't do that when our offense has finally showed signs of life. And despite all that, Mason came in this past Sunday and really he balled out again. He backed up what he did last week versus Cincinnati and put on another great display for our offense. And now we have a shot. We're sitting here with a shot at the playoffs. And so
let's you've got a lot better shot than I thought you would after losing those 2 games to New England and Arizona. I've got a couple ways I want to go with this. First of all, we're gonna have to get the group over at Steelers Nations. We need some producers or something where we can pull the tape and we can start because everything's cheery in Steeler land right now. You got the
you seem it. You think it would be cheery, but no. This somehow we managed to douse whatever kind of excitement we've had with this little bit of drama that Kenny did. To his credit, came out and addressed it head on. He was like, people coming out dressing or coming at my character. He was at his absolute BS. He was like, they made a decision late in Thursday that since he didn't get a lot of reps, that it was best for him just to sit out, not even be the emergency quarterback. So I'm going to trust the man. I'm going to take him at his word. Unless you prove to me or that you show me that you're a liar, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And Kenny deserves the benefit of the doubt because I don't think he's that type of guy, especially with the fact that he hasn't played any type of ball at all. And he has not balled out in the least to have that type of attitude and that type of audacity to go up to the head coach and say, nah, I ain't going to play.
And that was my question for you was, do you believe him?
I believe him. I'm going to take him at his word. But just the fact that inkling came out, and it wasn't Mark Madden that told me, actually. I heard from a little bird that claimed to have very pertinent knowledge, very trustworthy knowledge, that it came from the horse's mouth. But all that being said, the fact that he came and addressed it head on yesterday. A lot of respect for that. And this is a non-story to me at this point. I don't want to take away from the excitement of how important this game is. We have a chance this weekend, this Saturday, against our rival, albeit they're probably going to sit all their starters. I hope they sit all their starters.
I know
we have a chance to go 10-7, despite all the drama that we've been through this year. Every episode of this soap opera that we've been on, that every member of Steeler Nation has been tuned in. The George Pickens episode, the Najee Harris episodes, the O-line has had their own episodes in this soap opera. But at the end of the day, we're sitting here fighting for a playoff position, and we got some good momentum going in our favor.
So I was going to ask you if you believe him, and there's a couple things about it. Also, I wish we could play the clip of a few weeks ago when the George Pickens thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of Steelers Nation right now so happy, so cheer, as you should be.
Yeah,
but you guys just want to turn the page. You want to turn the page. You want to get to the next game. And I told you all a couple weeks ago when the George Pickens thing came out, this is unacceptable. It's a locker room issue. It's an indictment on this. This stuff don't happen. I said, BS. It does happen. The real issue is it's happening while you're losing now. Winning solves all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't doubt that.
You're winning now.
Winning does solve all.
And that's the only difference. These things have always happened. They always do happen. They happen in locker rooms everywhere. Not just yours, not just the Browns. Stuff happens in locker rooms. A lot more things than people realize. I've not been in them as a player at the professional level, but I've been in them. And there are things that happen in locker rooms that don't always get out, which is why I ask you if you believe Kenny Pickett when he says that. Here's my take as an outside, having never stepped foot in the Steelers locker room. Kenny Pickett is going to be on this team next year.
No doubt.
He's a first-round pick. He's relatively cheap in the quarterback market right now. You're going to bring in a new offensive coordinator. And Mason Rudolph is not. Regardless of how you want to dress it up, Mason Rudolph may have saved his NFL career. He's done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
He will be, before it was most likely Canada, but now because of what he's shown and been able to do, he will wear it. I will put another friendly wager with you up. He will be wearing a helmet other than a Steelers helmet next year, as will Mitch Trubisky. Kenny Pickett is the one.
I think
Kenny Pickett is the one quarter. When you look at the gaggle of scrub quarterbacks starting games in the NFL right now, Mason Rudolph has more than proved that he is capable. And he is in a situation where he will not get that chance. He could get the Mitch Trubisky deal that Pittsburgh gave him. He could go somewhere where they let him compete or hold the seat warm, give him a 2-year bridge deal for a quarterback coming into the NFL right now. He could absolutely get that. If the Bears trade Justin Fields to the Steelers or whoever else, and they don't want to start Caleb Williams right away, or whatever the Giants decide to do, Mason Rudolph could go and take snaps there.
All right, so I'm going to pump the brakes a tad bit. I don't think Mason goes anywhere to be a stopgap starter. I think his best chance at being a starter next year is in Pittsburgh. And it's because we'll have a new OC. It's because Kenny Pickett hasn't shown that he's capable of producing at a high level consistently, if at all. And Mason has in these last 2 games. And so I don't know, because remember, nobody wanted Mason at all except for Pittsburgh coming into the season. I don't know.
Nobody wanted Flacco either.
I don't think 2 games or potentially 3 games and maybe a playoff game. Now, I will say the one caveat: if we go to the playoffs and Mason is still the starter and somehow we manage to get a win, that changes everything. A playoff win would change everything.
We're in the same boat. We're in the same boat with Flacco.
Yeah, so
you and I are looking at it the same way, but
but Flacco is a Super Bowl winning champion. That's the biggest difference. And so
right, but he's not going to be a Brown next year.
Oh, I think Joe is back in Cleveland again next year, and I think Mason is back in Pittsburgh.
Maybe if Joe wins a Super Bowl, maybe just to give him his victory tour. But
I think
short of that, I don't think
bring Joe and Deshaun back. But I think they'll bring Mason and Kenny back only because you can't go into an offseason with only one quarterback on your roster. So from a logistics standpoint, I think we bring Mason back. And I think he's proven enough to at least give Tomlin And Steeler Nation is going to, if Tomlin does not bring Mason back and he continues to play how he's been playing, dude, like Steeler Nation will let him have it because they already took this long when they've been screaming Mason's name from the top of their lungs. He already took this long to play him and started Mr. Trubisky 3-4 games, and we only won. I don't think Mitch has won one start, and so Mason comes in and win 2 right away in impressive fashion. Dude, they got to bring Mason back.
It's not just him; it's the offense. So we're watching the game together Sunday, and you should speak on this more here. And I turned to you and I asked you, people don't realize that the quarterback position in the NFL is more than just throwing passes. When you know a system inside and out, like Mason has been in Pittsburgh forever now, right. It's about, and this is where a good offensive line coach and a good offensive line comes in too, making sure your team is set up in the one thing that drives me nuts, and I see teams do it all the time at the college and pro level, is illegal formation. It's a pre-snap penalty. It's just lack of focus and stupidity. It should never happen.
Yeah, pre-snaps are the worst. If you ask any coach, any head coach, there's nothing that grinds their gears more than a pre-snap penalty.
Right. And I'm not even talking about jumping off sides. I'm talking about lining up wrong, illegal formation. Because all you have to do is take a look around. You know what formation you're in. Are X amount of players on the ball or X amount of players off the ball. Point blank, period. So the quarterback position extends well beyond completing passes and is getting your team put in the right position to succeed. The offense has moved since Mason has become the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and it's not doing anything amazing. It's not like he's some different quarterback.
He's doing his job.
Scrambling like, what's his name up in the Giants? DeVito. He's not coming. Him and Tyrod Taylor are completely opposite quarterbacks. Tyrod does give you a little bit more mobility.
Tyrod is good.
But, I mean, DeVito he's a running quarterback. He is Daniel Jones, like him and Daniel Jones are the same quarterback.
I never thought Tyrod got the due credit that he deserved either, by the way.
Right. So Mason came in and is in the same exact offense that we've been doing. Same exact plays are being called. But the difference is there's a confidence level. There is an attention to detail. There is a little bit more calculated risk that Mason's taking. He is staying in the pocket. So the O-line, the fact that he's going to stay in and not scramble out and do the little twirly bird thing that Kenny Pickett used to do that would get him sacked, that gives the O-line confidence that the quarterback is going to stay in the pocket and look downfield to complete passes. That gives the wide receivers confidence that when they run the route that the ball is going to be there on time. That gives the running backs confidence that in blitz pickup that they can block where they're going to. They know the blitz is coming a certain way because the quarterback is going to be in the pocket. So just little things like that have a domino effect. And a lot of times, and especially in this instance, it's worked out for the better for us because Mason is staying in the pocket, going through his progression, throwing passes on time, and because of those little nuance, that little change, it has given our offense all the confidence in the world.
Well, and Mason knows how to do those things, and whether it's his fault or not, Kenny doesn't. And it's a reading defense thing, it's a conceptual thing, it's a schematic thing, it's a Matt Canada thing. And that's where, in a lot of ways, the Steelers failed him by continuing to bring that back. Mason can draw on experience from prior, from
He's been in this offense for better or for worse. Well, mostly for worse for the last 4 years. This offense is not a lot different than Randy Fichtner was before Matt Canada took over. So a lot of plays are the same. And just that experience of being in that offense, a similar offense, for that long is more than what Kenny has. And so
Mason also watched somebody execute it at a high level when Ben did. He knows what success is supposed to look like within this system and this offense. And is Kenny athletic and all that things? Yes. You would know this better anyway. Ben extended plays. Ben was great in the pocket. I wouldn't call Ben the greatest of athletes. He's not.
No, but just pocket awareness is not scrambling. It's just knowing how to make those subtle movements to avoid the rush.
Buying
knowing how to body position, buying extra time. And it is not like seconds. It's like a half a second or 0.3 of a second. That's all the difference you need for a big play to open up or for a wide receiver to get a little bit more separation from a defender. And Ben was.
That's why it blew my mind when I heard that the reason Mason wasn't starting is because he wasn't mobile enough or wasn't athletic enough. that's not what you need. Play your role.
Yeah.
Distribute the ball to your playmakers, get it in their hands, get it in space, and let them go.
And you know who's been the biggest beneficiary of Mason, and as we all know it, the guy that was the star actor in the Steelers soap opera episodes the prior weeks, and that's George Pickens. He has been on an absolute tear since number 2 has been a quarterback. I think he has over 300 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns in 2 games. By far his greatest production since he's been a Steeler. So you know he's already feeling Mason being back there. And when your star receiver is eating, and it's because there's one specific quarterback, I don't see how you go away from him anytime soon.
Your prediction is Mason will be back. We'll come up with the terms, but I'll have a little friendly wager that he will not be a Steeler next year.
Oh, he definitely will be. I predict, but we'll get to that.
Meanwhile, what did I send you? What did I send you?
Oh,
man. The people.
So I mean, I don't know if you want to.
I don't want to. I'm not going to bet on both of them being gone because, frankly, I'm still perturbed that I'm more pro Tomlin than half of your fan base. But I sent you.
Well, Tomlin is back. But yeah, man, due to our bet that I won handedly. 3 games to 2, right? You finally had to make me some baked goods with love. Now
I did.
Granted, it was Browns themed, but I'll tell you what, for your first time baking,
look at that. Mean,
the handiwork, the penmanship could be a little better, and I definitely didn't eat none of that orange Browns stuff.
I was going for the authenticity. That's what the Cleveland Browns field looks like in December.
Nobody knows what that is. That is a brownie, y'all. It may not look like it on the surface, but it is a brownie, and it was delicious. You saw me eat the first piece. I'll tell you how good it is. I didn't see it the rest of the day I was there. It got destroyed by the rest of my family.
Did it get finished?
Yeah, it got finished. So well done. Well done. I didn't eat any of the Browns. I just ate the field part. That's supposed to be a NFL field, y'all. It's supposed to be Browns end zone with the green being the field. And it was good. I'll give you props in your baking skills this time around.
There was a lot of icing on it. That can mask a lot of deficiencies when you have a lot of good icing.
That was good.
I did maybe like the fattest thing I've ever done in my life the other day. I had some of that icing left, and it was in the refrigerator. We had no dessert.
Tell me you just took it to the face?
Hey,
did you just take it to the face?
It's worse than that. I had not enough for a bowl of cereal of the all berries crunch berries.
Oh my goodness!
Berries. So I took a spoon of that stuff and I just put a bowl of the crunch berries with it. I just ate some crunch berries and cream cheese icing, or
Dude, I've done some fat things in my life, man. Plenty of them.
So good. It was so good. It was so good. I had a little buzz on. Some adult beverages were had, and had some wings, and I was like, oh, I want something sweet right now. And I'm looking through everything. We got no desserts left from the holidays.
Very diabetic on your part.
I went to get a bowl of cereal, and I was like, there's not enough cereal in here for a whole bowl. That's a waste of milk. When I opened the fridge, the icing, what was left of the icing, was sitting there next to the milk. I was like,
dude, you got some resolutions to take care of if you're going to be eating some literally frosted cereal. But meanwhile, I know you're pretty excited because your Browns are going into the playoffs for the first time. Well, since 2 years ago, but still, like, this team looks different, dude. This team looks, with Joe Flacco, looks like it could match up well just against anybody. Baltimore.
Well, I had to share the love. I brought your boy a gift.
Yeah.
When we met up at we've got a new fan, dare I say?
Nah, you brought that necklace. That thing got spray painted black and yellow so quick. So, but no, nobody's jumping. Like, I will say, the Browns being in the playoffs, if there was out of 7 teams that make it, obviously the Steelers make it. I'm rooting for them. You guys won't be the last team, at least. You won't be the Baltimore. I root for them the least, obviously, because I hate them the most. But
nobody likes Ratbirds.
So if it's Baltimore and Cleveland, I'm actually going to see. I want to see Cleveland win. I want to see what Joe Flacco can do against his old team. That would be that would be some pretty interesting, a pretty ironic matchup if those two happen to meet up in the playoffs.
That'd be a nightmare for them because Joe's spinning it, boy. He's out there falling asleep on the sidelines. He's got 300 in the first half against the Jets, who don't even give up 300 in a game. He's out there just
he didn't have
doing the Lord's work.
He didn't even have Amari Cooper back there, which was pretty impressive.
No.
He had Njoku.
He didn't have him or Elijah Moore.
Yeah. Elijah Moore got concussed, in the second or third quarter?
First half, yeah.
Yeah. But Njoku, he had 100 plus in the first quarter?
In the first quarter. He's an animal. He's drinking beers in the stands after the game, taking shots with the fans. He's the people's champ up there.
So you're not the only Browns fan I know. I got another buddy who's in Pittsburgh, enemy territory, who is a hardcore Browns fan. He's from Youngstown, Ohio, and he always goes. He goes to every game. He's always there rooting for him, and he was there in person. He's loving life right now. I've never seen or heard through the TV that stadium, the dog pound, that loud. It was impressive last Thursday to hear how loud and how excited that fan base is. And I mean, I know y'all living life right now. Enjoy. You guys deserve it. But this doesn't seem like some fluky Browns team that is making it to the playoffs. This looks like a team that can actually do some work.
I'm kind of glad that we at least know if Kevin Stefanski doesn't rest all the starters this week, he's a moron. There's no way you let Myles Garrett, Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, Joe Flacco, Kareem, none of those guys touch the field. Denzel Ward, none of those guys touch the field this week against Cincinnati. It is the most – you've got the 5 seed wrapped up. You can't go any higher. You can't go any lower. So you go to Cincinnati, let Jeff Driscoll go spin it like he's Mason Rudolph and audition for some teams because there's nothing that can be gained from this game at all other than the satisfaction of beating the Bengals, which is always satisfying. Golly, I just love beating the Bengals now. And it would be lovely to see them go, have a losing record and go 0-6 in the division. That bandwagon's getting quite empty too, by the way. I love it. But
they'll all come back when Joe Burrow comes back next year. So
it was ironic. The two biggest game. I mean, you had the Browns playoff game in Pittsburgh, but I was talking to a buddy of mine. The two biggest Browns home games of recent memory to me, like where the crowd was like that and it was like this crazy, ironically, was against the Jets, and it was Thursday Night Football. It was the game Baker first played when they opened the Bud Light coolers, and I was there for that game. And then this one against the Jets because the whole city knew they could clinch. And the last time they clinched, it was the COVID year. Nobody was really in the stadium. They couldn't be there to celebrate the win with the team. So it was just kind of weird and ironic that it was against the Jets again. But it's fun watching a quarterback you talked about it with Mason Rudolph, with Joe Flacco, that is just operating within the system. He's out there giving what the defense takes him. And Kevin Stefanski's got to appreciate it too. Because the one thing about Kevin Stefanski is he has a tendency to be the smartest guy in the room, and I don't say that as a compliment. He overthinks himself sometimes, and instead of just doing what he should do, he'll try to be cute. But he's got to enjoy having a quarterback with enough of an IQ because Baker wasn't it. Deshaun hasn't proven to be it since he's been there. Jacoby was Jacoby. I love Jacoby Brissett, but he was just limited in what he was bringing to the table. He's a borderline starter in the NFL.
Right.
Joe Flacco is a guy who's seen all these defenses and knows how to operate within that system. And he just knows, get the ball to the open guy. 3rd and 15, opening drive against the Jets. I don't need to throw it all the way to the sticks. I'm going to check it down to Njoku after 9 yards and let him run for 20. Because he's athletic
really
enough to get me
his yards at the catcher have been ridiculous this year.
So take what the defense gives you.
Let me ask you this, because let's talk about the Browns in the playoffs this year, because possible matchups you guys will have either the Texans, the Colts, or the Jaguars, in your opening round. Does it give you any concern the fact that Joe, despite the fact that he's been playing well and spinning that thing, has 7 interceptions in the last 3 games?
No, 2 of them were Hail Marys.
Right.
And 2 of them were Cedric Tillman running the wrong route.
What about the ones that there were 2 passes I remember in that first quarter of that Jets game that should have been picked off? And
well, that's every quarterback across the league.
Yeah. But Joe has been
you're not wrong, because it normally irritates me. But for whatever reason with him, it doesn't. What irritates me about it is coaches and quarterbacks then go into shells. And it's not the pick itself. It's the ripple, avalanche effect that it has. It then changes how you're calling and playing the rest of the game. Joe Flacco is the first quarterback I've seen in a Browns uniform that doesn't have that. And I don't even think he was this way in Baltimore. I think it's because he's playing with house money. He was on his couch. He doesn't care if he goes out. He's out there playing 7-on-7 football, letting it rip, throwing it 40 to 50 times a game, saying, I don't give a damn. Drop me back. Yeah. I'm going to let it fly.
He is playing with house money. He signed that contract that gives him all kinds of incentives.
Right.
Come playoff time, right? So,
but he's won his Super Bowls. He's made his money. He's done the highest you can do in this league for the most part. Right now, this is just a fairy tale for him. He's out there for the first time on a team where it's not, don't lose the game. Because let's face it, in Baltimore, you had that defense, you had the running game. It was go out there and play handcuffed. That was kind of
he's never actually had these kind of weapons to throw to.
Just cut it loose. Yeah. Just go out there and rip it and cut it loose. And
he had
the first time ever.
Bolden and Steve Smith. But he had a run game. But I feel like they haven't been this dynamic before for him.
No, I even think it's different if Chubb is healthy, because then you're going to run the offense more through him. But right now, they're like, we're going to win the ball. We're going to pass to set up the run. And Joe, you're going to go out there and you're going to spin it. And just spin it and spin it. And you want to win, let Joe spin. It's like Booby Miles, but as the quarterback.
Did you just come up with that?
No, it's Booby Miles.
Oh, dude.
I did you want to win, let Booby spin. You want to win, let Joe spin.
Dude.
But I should put it on a T-shirt.
So I am – it's a conundrum. Like, I don't think there's a better time during any sport other than maybe March Madness than the NFL playoffs. And we're going into this weekend with, I think, probably one of the more wide open playoffs in a long time. I don't think anybody in the AFC – Baltimore has turned it on great in December, but they don't look unbeatable. But if we had to say somebody's playing the best out of everybody, it's them. And then probably San Francisco, who just got destroyed by Baltimore in the NFC. But on either side, on either the AFC side or NFC side, I don't see everybody's beatable. And I feel like we're going to have 2 new teams in the Super Bowl. Because honestly, I think the 49ers' biggest threat in the NFC is somebody in their own division. The way the Rams are playing right now.
The Rams are playing good. And they always give San Francisco fits.
They're always giving fits. And it's a very familiar opponent. And they have probably a running back that's playing as good as CMC and Kyron Williams. And then they got the kid, Puka Nacua, who almost won me my fantasy championship. He about to break the rookie receiving record. And, of course, Cooper Kupp. And then Matthew Stafford with his Super Bowl experience. So that's going to be interesting. And then the AFC, dude, like KFC or Kansas City does not look like Kansas City of old, but they're always scary, especially since they got Mahomes. So they'll be the 3rd seed probably, because either Miami or Buffalo will be the 2nd seed.
What do you guys – because the team that the Browns could face up against in the first round that I don't want to see is Houston. We did not play them with C.J. Stroud the first time around. I still think we're a better team than they are, but of the 3 options you're giving me, I'd rather play Indy or Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah, Houston. No doubt. That kid, C.J. Stroud's going to be the offensive rookie of the year. They probably got the head coach of the year.
What is it that you guys need to make the playoffs again?
So because we need Buffalo or Jacksonville to lose. We obviously need to win. There is a way we can get in if we lose, but the easiest route is for us to win, Buffalo to lose, or Jacksonville to lose. Either one of those lose and we win, we're in. Or if Houston and Indy tie. Those are the 3 scenarios.
And initially, I wasn't going to root for you guys this week unless we had a chance to win the division. And then I did a little research, and I will tell you, I will be I wasn't going to root for Baltimore against you because I hate them, but I was just going to be indifferent and just watch the game. Now I will be rooting for you, and I will tell you why, because we did a little bit of research. And the playoffs reseed after the first round. And I like our chances.
They do.
I like you. Yeah. I like you guys' chances against Kansas City, frankly. Especially your defensive line against our offensive line. But I like our chances much more against Kansas City or Miami than Baltimore. And I'd rather you guys be the sacrificial lamb to Baltimore in the second round of the playoffs. Because I think we match up well with Miami now with the injuries that they have stacking up.
If I'll tell you this, and it's a big if, but if this is who we've become, Pittsburgh, and we continue to be an efficient offense, we'll get Minka back and we'll get Alanda Roberts back probably after this week. And it will be the healthiest we've been all year round. If we can continue to run the ball, because the way we're playing right now, it wins in December and January. The way we're running the ball with Najee and Jalen. Don't give me that smirk. I feel like you're smirking over there for a reason, man. Because I'm over here with my hope.
I'll tell you why I'm smirking. I've been there. I've been there with hope before.
I like the way, like I said, I did preface that by saying it's a big if, because we have not shown this type of consistency all year round. But we have 2 games in a row scoring 30-plus points, 400 yards of offense for the first time since 2020. And we had a quarterback that has not playoff experience, but at least game experience. So it does give me that little trinket of hope that we could win a playoff game, because we all know so many teams have gone on runs once you get into the playoffs that had no business, or you thought had no business making it all the way. Yeah. We were one of the first teams in 2005. We got beat by another team in Green Bay in 2011 who got us in the 6th seed. And I believe the Giants one year did the same thing. So
yes,
if you get into
the second time they beat, was it the second time they beat New England?
I think so. I think because they might have been like 9-7 or 10-6 get into the playoffs.
Yeah,
and barely got in. But if you get invited to the show, there's always a chance.
I'll tell you what my smirk is about now.
Okay.
Because it's not about your hope. I like to see you with hope. I like to see you with your positive pants on.
These are my positive pants, bro.
It brings me joy for you. My hope is this: if you guys can make it and we can both win in the first round,
there's a chance we face each other.
Oh yeah, in Cleveland.
And it will be in Cleveland.
In Cleveland.
Oof.
If you guys you would have to win the second round and we would have to win the second round. But the Browns would host
the AFC Championship. It would be my goodness.
So, but the biggest reason is if you guys won the first round and we won the first round, that means we're either getting to play you and then we both win the second round. That means we're either getting to play you and host the AFC Championship game, or Joe Flacco has a chance to knock Baltimore out of the playoffs to go to the Super Bowl. And that's just like the most perfect thing ever for me.
I'm trying to think. We're not automatically the 7th seed if we get in. Who would be?
No, I think you would be 6.
Would be 6.
Like if you win and Buffalo loses, you would be 6.
But Buffalo would be
Buffalo's 6. Yes.
And Miami would be the 2nd seed. Who would be the 7th seed at that point?
Houston, Jacksonville, or Indy.
Whoever loses between Indy and Houston, because I know if Jacksonville
wins,
it would be one of the AFC South teams.
Yes.
And then
2 of the 3 would make it. If Jacksonville
wins, because are they 9-7 or 8-8 right now?
Yeah, they're all 9-7.
We're all 9-7. Any of the AFC South teams win, and Buffalo loses, we're the 7th seed because they'll take the 5th or the 4th and the 6th seed.
Okay.
Because all 3 of them beat us. So I think maybe we are the 7th seed no matter what. But
gotcha.
That is interesting. What about on the NFC side? Who you got over there? Who do you think?
Tampa was playing good ball before last week.
They were, yeah.
And I was assuming that Tampa was going to host Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I thought on the road Dallas could lose to Tampa. And then the refs decided that Dallas was going to win that game against Detroit.
Yeah.
It's still hard to go against San Francisco. That team is so complete and so deep.
They are.
I don't like the way the Eagles are playing right now. I do like the way the Rams are playing. I don't like Detroit away from Detroit. I also don't like Detroit in the matchup against the Rams in the first round, which is what it looks like it's going to be.
That's going to be another Joe Flacco type, going against Baltimore type game, going against a
Which, by the way, you guys get that officiating crew for your game on Saturday night.
Oh, are you Brad Allen? It's on Saturday? Golly.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
Look at that look.
I do not want to see them. Real quick, you saw the statement about the NFL basically defending them, saying it's the onus of the player to make sure that they're basically saying, and don't get me wrong, there is some deception built into what Detroit tried to do, but the referee dropped the ball on that. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it.
It was explained to him. It was explained to him. You got it wrong.
In a year where refereeing seems like it's been as worse as it's been ever, that was kind of the icing on the cake, because that literally changed the playoffs. Not just
refereeing. That crew, that's the same crew that missed the pass interference non-call for the Chiefs. Like, that crew has been terrible.
Yeah. The Miami Philly game where Miami got penalized 10.
That crew has been awful.
I've never played in one game of football in my life where there was one team that had zero penalties. Dude, I never win a game without committing a penalty. I never got called for all of them, but I held my ass off all the time. So
it's kind of like fouling in basketball. You do it until it's called.
Yeah.
If they're going to let you get away with it. It's just like pushing. To me, the most egregious thing. So in the NBA a while ago, you and I used to talk about it when the Cavs and Warriors were going head to head in the finals every year. The most egregious thing was how they never called moving screens. Because basically the Warriors were teaching their big men, Andrew Bogut, Draymond Green, they were all doing moving screens on every play to free Clay and Steph up. And now wide receivers push off on every play.
They do.
Every single play.
Play.
My problem is they pick and choose when they're going to call it. Either call it or don't. But there has to be – it's like a strike zone in baseball. Don't call low inside strikes all game long, and then in the seventh inning, it's not a strike. Don't turn your head the other way on offensive pass interference or holding by the offensive lineman all game long, and then call it in the fourth quarter when it determines the outcome of the game. That's my problem with officiating. It's either a foul or it's not. And if it's a foul in the first quarter, it's not in the fourth quarter. And if it's not a foul in the first quarter, it's not in the fourth quarter. So stop picking and choosing when you're going to do this stuff.
Yeah. And that annoys me too, but they're not even getting to that point. Like, that's not even, they are making egregiously bad calls or bad no calls.
Yep.
And it has literally affected the playoffs on the NFC side. And I hope they don't screw us this weekend against Baltimore, but you really got to go in to the game refereed by this crew with a certain understanding that some things may be out of your control. It sucks to think that. It always is an element that the refs will have an effect on the game, but you never expect a crew to have that type of effect on the game that really, I mean, they screwed Detroit. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. I mean, I heard their fan base afterwards. They were livid and really can't blame them at all.
They should be.
But it should be a fun playoffs, man. I'm looking forward to it. I think is wide open, and it's anybody's Super Bowl. It's going to be a good matchup, I think, in Vegas come February.
Next week when the field is set, we'll pick an AFC and NFC champion.
Got it.
On one of next week's shows,
but
because we'll have some picks and stuff to do. But before we're going to do grind my gears, but talking about playoffs, the college football playoffs. The Bama-Michigan game was about the sloppiest, who doesn't want to lose less game that I've seen. I love the physicality of it, but my God, Alabama center. I've seen things out of that Alabama team that I've not seen out of a Nick Saban coach team. He's got to be about done. And not because he can't do it anymore, but I don't understand how Nick Saban can put up with this level of what's going on with the college athlete today in the NIL world and stuff.
I don't see it either. I don't know how he's going to adjust. I always thought, and I've had this debate with a couple of my buddies, that because Alabama was so far ahead of everybody as far as recruiting and the type of players they could store on their roster to wait in the wings when their Heisman candidate graduated or their first round quarterback graduated, they had another first round quarterback in the wings.
Right.
That's just not this is not that day and age. And so I always thought that NIL would affect them more than most because now they're coming back to the level of everybody else. Now NIL is going to affect everybody. It's going to affect all the blue bloods because you won't be able to store those guys on the roster. I mean, we see how it's affecting Ohio State, but for teams like Alabama, I think Clemson, who was probably second in that run under Alabama for the past 10 years, it's already hit them hard. It's already hit them hard, and I don't see how they're going to be able to come back, especially with Dabo Swinney being so anti-NIL. They won't be able to recruit the same caliber of players they've been doing over the years because he has been on the record of being against it. And granted, he's going to have to acquiesce a little bit, but I think it's hit them already. I think it's going to hit Alabama. It's going to hit the rest of those guys. So I like the fact that it at least gives us more parity in college. But like you said, the way that Alabama looked, they looked bad. And granted, they still managed to win 12 games, make it to the playoffs. We both on the record saying they didn't deserve it. And at the end of the day, they only lost in overtime. But how they lost in overtime? Dude, 2 runs by Corum, a 4-yard run, and then he just went into the end zone on the second at 20. I can't remember how long it was. Dude, that was kind of like the perfect way to really exemplify how bad. Because whenever we thought of Alabama, it was always the monsters up front they had on the D-line and the O-line. The O-line gave up 6 sacks in the first half, and then the D-line gives up that touchdown to end the game. That's not Alabama football.
You have the Michigan cheating thing, and what annoys me about that is Michigan is a damn good football team this year, top to bottom. To me, the differentiator has always been you give Nick Saban 30 days off to prepare for any opponent, I'm taking Nick Saban every time. And the offensive game plan that Tommy Rees put together was so god awful. It was a terrible game plan. Jalen Milroe looked terrible.
Yeah.
He looked like he shouldn't be playing quarterback.
Yeah. There was a dearth of talent. They did not have the talent. I don't think that Michigan was that much more talented. But in the trenches, there was a stark difference between the two teams.
Yes. And McClellan was averaging 6-7 yards a carry, and you still insisted on dropping Milroe back and putting the game in his hands. It's unfathomable for a Nick Saban team to bowl prep that way. He was bad. Milroe lost them that game. He's running, just nonchalantly carrying the ball and puts it on the ground.
Yeah. And
the offensive line was bad, but there's certain plays, and there's one. I'll have to try and go find the video. Maybe I'll be able to tweet it out later on this week, a shot of the play. But Michigan shifts their defense. Alabama's in an empty set. All of a sudden, you have 4 Michigan defenders to Milroe's right, 2 to the left, and it's a spread set. And for whatever reason, Milroe's eyes go straight left, and he gets blown up. And sacked.
Yeah, I know which play you're talking about. Yeah.
He had a guy on a seam wide open where if you just lead him away from the safety, he walks in for 6. But that's a perfect case in point of not knowing where your eyes should be, having a low football IQ, and not understanding the offense. There's nothing in the world that says my eyes should go left at snap here based on what you're seeing pre-snap. And his eyes went straight left, didn't even see the guys coming unblocked off the edge, and he just got blown up.
Yeah.
That's a coaching thing that you would never see out of a Nick Saban team before. He would not have a quarterback on the field that could not make that adjustment, that would do that. And then to continue to double down and do the same thing all game long blew my mind. Like, what am I watching here?
He definitely wasn't good. I mean, and it's not like J.J. McCarthy was setting the world on fire. He didn't look good either. You see how he started the game out.
I'm glad the world now sees what I've been saying for months about J.J. McCarthy when everybody was talking about a first-round pick.
it was almost a disaster on the very first play of the game. He threw it, scrambled out to the right, and threw it straight to the
I was
Alabama
like Will Ferrell.
TV.
I was like Will Ferrell in my chair. I was like,
I know you was loving like you thought Michigan was going to come out and just crap the bed from the get-go.
JJ threw a pick. The meatloaf.
Well, as bad as those two quarterbacks were, the quarterbacks in the Texas-Washington game looked fantastic.
Penix was robbed. He was robbed of the Heisman.
For the Heisman?
Yes. He was
robbed of the Heisman. He's been in school for like 12 years, man. I guess he deserved a lifetime achievement Heisman at that point.
Stop him from giving it to Chris Winkie.
That's true. I'm just saying.
Don't blame my man.
It's a lifetime achievement award. He's been there forever. He spent 4 years at Indiana and didn't look nearly this good. You always saw that he had talent, but when he went to Washington, he has just been tearing it up. And Quinn,
did he go to high school in Florida?
Huh?
Did Penix go to high school in Florida?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I mean, he balled out. Yeah, obviously has a lot of weapons. Has the one Rome kid who's going to be a first-round draft pick. He looked good. And then
you ever see the movie Moneyball?
Is that the one Brad Pitt?
About the A's? Yeah.
I have not seen that. That's on my list. Let me go ahead and write that down.
Yeah.
Because you about to quote the movie for me?
There's a scene in there where he's trying to build his roster because obviously the A's don't have money, right? Mm-hmm. So he's like looking for all these guys with deficiencies and to why like other MLB teams haven't picked them up. Like he's a really good player, but guys don't like him because he's weird. Like they found a guy who did the whole submarine pitching thing and stuff like that. Had a really good ERA, good pitcher, but he looked weird. That's right. Penix. Penix is a left-handed quarterback. He looks weird because he's a left-handed quarterback wearing linebacker pads. I've never understood that, by the way. His shoulder pads sit so high.
He is not a small dude either. I mean, he is a decent size. So those shoulder pads look even bigger. But
and he went from Indiana to Washington. If if he goes from somewhere to an SEC school and he's right-handed, he's hands down the first pick in the draft coming out this year over Caleb Williams because he's put up similar stats. He would have won a Heisman, and he's actually won playoff games and made it to the playoffs, where Caleb Williams has done none of that.
If I'm being honest, I think Washington beats the brakes off Michigan because of Penix.
I hope so. I hope you're right, because this has been miserable for me.
Dude, if Michigan brings the Big Ten a championship, dude, I'm just gonna wear a big M around you all the time. Just to piss you off.
Oh man. See Missouri, the damn Missouri thing, and we got
I have a problem with capital M's, man. What the hell?
Man, listen, we're gonna save Ohio State for the next show because I don't have nearly enough time to go into it. We're gonna go ahead. You want to go ahead and you've done turned it sour. You want to do grind my gears now and just go ahead and
really I want you to get something off your chest. Obviously, your gears have been grinded just by talking about Michigan and capital M's. It pisses you off. So let's go.
Let's grind my gears.
You know what really grinds my gears? Loud noises!
And you know who I'm going to get pissed at?
Go on.
I cannot stand these Bengals fans that just come out the woodwork.
Another thing that grinds my gears.
Nothing pissed me off more seeing what happened with Florida State.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
They are trying to act like folks aren't dumb.
Hey, that was quite a rant there.
And that's what really grinds my gears.
And here we go.
You know what really grinds?
I'm going to give the floor to you first.
Well, dude, mine is completely out of left field. But you want to know, and I just experienced this. What really grinds my gears is the last hour and a half of a 10-hour drive. When you're in traffic. So we drive up to Ohio. Maps, Google
Great
Maps
state of Ohio.
It's, to each his own. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so I'll let you have it. But my parents stay there, so I like it enough. My cousins stay in Columbus, and that's who we went to visit for New Year's. So we make the trek from Atlanta, Gwinnett County in Georgia, and we leave at 3:30 in the morning. Going up there is fine. When you're going towards a destination,
It's always better.
The drive is always better because you have something to look forward to.
You're excited.
Something fun, something that you haven't done in a while. The kids are going to play with their kids. They're geeked about it, even though the "Are we there yet's" happened about 5 hours too soon. But granted, we get there. It's fine. An 8-hour drive takes 10 because we have 3 little ones and they have to go to the bathroom every 2 hours. It is what it is. It's the life of a parent on a road trip. But when you're coming home and all you want to do is just get into your house after being away for 5 days and lay in your bed, why is it that last hour and a half, 2 hours feels like eternity? My goodness, we had got to Georgia and we could see the light at the end of the tunnel. We go into the state 2 hours away and we get to just outside Atlanta. It said an hour and a half away for another hour. Like we were an hour and a half away for an hour. So basically it took us 2.5 hours to drive an hour and a half, because if anybody knows Atlanta traffic, if you get there around 3 or 4 o'clock on a business day, there is nothing you can do about it. You have 7, 8 lanes of highway and somehow they're always jam-packed. Always.
You know what's bad is irrational thoughts start going through your mind like, forget this. I know we're only 2 hours out, but I'm getting a hotel. I'm done.
Yes,
I'm over.
Exactly.
We're pulling over. We're going to dinner right now, and we're getting a hotel, and I'm going to bed, especially when you do that early drive. Like the most irrational thought, you would never, ever think, oh, I'm an hour and a half from home. I'm getting a hotel. But in that moment, 10 hours on the road, you're like, where's the Hampton Inn? I'm going somewhere. Look it up on Expedia. We're going somewhere.
We left at 6 o'clock, and everything was smooth sailing. We get through Kentucky, cool. We get through Tennessee, cool. Get through Chattanooga. Chattanooga is always that, you always have a landmark. You're like, okay, we're almost there once we get to Chattanooga. Everybody has that landmark. We get through Chattanooga, think it's smooth sailing. No. Wrong. 3 hours. Well, it was supposed to be an hour and a half, turned into 3 hours. And I was done. By the time I got home, thank God we made it safe. Everybody got home. Drained. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was like, let me just go downstairs, just sit down for a little bit. Let me decompress before I come up and
I feel like
any other.
I always get the bad luck. Like we did this. We went on a cruise in October and we drove to New York City and stayed. We got a hotel the night before, stayed in New York City. But getting home, we knew it was one way, 8.5, 9 hour shot coming back. And I feel like without fail, when I'm coming back, the last 2 hours I hit the weather also. So when it starts raining, that's when it like everything that could go wrong goes wrong. The kids get irritable.
Right.
Everybody's just ready to be home. A week of vacation just starts setting in on you. You start thinking about work the next day and all the other BS, and you're just like, oh,
dude,
no.
We're like 2 days. I like fast food as much as the next man, but you just get so tired of eating gas station snacks and fast food just because you gotta eat something.
And it ain't cheap no more. You got a family of 4 or 5 going to McDonald's for breakfast is $40.
$40. We went to Chick-fil-A an inordinate amount of times on our way up because my kids just love the Chick-fil-A. Dude, I'm so tired of chicken sandwiches right now. Dude, at least a week break. I'll be back. Don't worry. I love them, but I need to go a week.
You need some time away.
I need some time away, But yeah, man, it was tough, but we made it. And
that's a good grind my gears.
Woo!
That's your gears were ground on your vehicle and in your heart and mind.
Right.
Mine, I had a few different places I was thinking of going. There's some New Year's stuff. It was about a week ago. They started talking about the comeback player of the year. I see DeMar Hamlin as the comeback player of the year. I thought about that because first and foremost, you're happy the guy's okay, but he hasn't played. And it annoys me, us making all these off-field storylines on-field award type things, if that makes sense. Like that truly perturbs me. But I have to go with the state of Ohio State football. Me, you, and your cousin sat and talked about this for a while at the restaurant when we were at Twin Peaks.
Ohio State lost the game.
It's not about them losing the game. I don't even care that they won or lost the game. You learned nothing from this game. It was supposed to be what you saw what you got out of Devin Brown, so you could know what your quarterback room looks like going into the spring. Even Tennessee got to see what their freshman quarterback is going to look like going into next year.
He looks good.
He does.
He looks really good.
But you learned nothing from this game. You didn't show up. The offensive line was terrible. They actually did a pretty good job of somehow talking a lot of these players into playing in the game that otherwise probably wouldn't have. And that's the product you put up, not against Alabama or Georgia or USC, Missouri. That is what you put up against Missouri. Because Ryan Day's an awful head coach. That's why, Craig.
And you hate capital M's. You can't get past the capital M's.
You know what?
Somebody puts a capital M. Next time I come, I'm going to wear a big capital M, and you're going to be so terrified, you won't know what to do.
Just for that, I'm going to tell my kids that we're not allowing M&Ms in this house for the next calendar year. And it's because
Missouri,
of
capital M, Michigan, capital M. Y'all can't handle it. It just does something to your psyche.
We beat Miami of Ohio.
Is that a capital M?
Marshall.
Yeah, I guess that's a little. Yeah. That's a MAC school. That's a lowercase M. But the capital M's is the one that gives you issues.
We beat the U, Miami.
Okay.
But it was just so disgusting to watch. Like, there was nothing to be gained from that. It was I say it facetiously about Ryan Day being an awful head coach. It's not that he's an awful head coach, but you're starting to get to that point where, are you the right coach for Ohio State?
I mean, you guys,
because his resume right now looks very Harbaugh-like before Connor Stallions.
Well, Harbaugh might be leaving, so maybe you guys just in luck.
I'm sure he will be. If he's smart, he will
be the Chargers coach next year. I can see that.
The cheating stuff and all the NCAA stuff aside, Michigan is losing a lot of players to the draft, like graduating and stuff. They're going to lose a lot. This is his best class.
He's losing.
Harbaugh's always been an opportunist where he goes out at the right time. Like he's
the head coach for the Chargers next year. That's my prediction.
I think so as well. But that's my grind my gears is just the current state. There's nothing you can do but vomit about when you look at the transfer portal and the NIL and what other schools are getting in. They're still talking to the kid from Kansas State, I guess, to maybe get it. He just finally officially said that he's coming to visit Ohio State. Will Howard, I think is his name.
Oh, Will Howard from Kansas State? Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming. So I
heard Cam Ward entered the draft, so he's out of it, right? I know you guys were.
Oh, did he declare for the draft?
I heard he entered the draft. That's just don't quote me on that, but at least what I heard. But it's funny what perspective would do to you, because you guys and your 1 or 2 losses are just in the dumps in Ohio State, and I'm at 8-5 Northwestern with our coaches, Big Ten Coach of the Year, David Braun. Despite all the mess we went through this year, I'm as excited as I've been to be a Wildcat alum and fan in a while. And so it's funny how that works, right?
I told you we're kindred spirits, you and I, because how I feel on Saturdays is how you feel on Sundays, and how you feel on Saturdays is how I feel on Sundays. Northwestern is very Browns-like, sprinkles of success here and there, throughout their tenure.
Yeah,
and
I can't even.
The Buckeyes are very Steelers-like. You're just used to a standard of success, and that just is what it is. And
it is what it is.
All I know is we got a good weekend coming up because you have a meaningful game coming. Because it was looking dicey there. If you'd have lost either of these last 2 weeks, this weekend would not matter for you.
I know. We got something to look forward to, and
we're both a little superstitious.
Huh?
I found out we're both a little superstitious.
A little stitious, but these positive pants are going to show up again on Saturday. They go into their special room in my basement. Nobody opens that room for the entire week. They're pressed. There's a nice little crease in them, and they stay in there by themselves until it's game day. And so they will be there on Saturday waiting. And we think we have a 4:30 kickoff on Saturday. The Monday night crew is in town. Yep. Troy Aikman, Joe Buck. And we're going to see what happens.
My wife said she's not coming. My wife said she's not coming to Atlanta again.
Oh, she's my good luck charm. Come on, Liz.
she says not happening.
We're FaceTiming. I'm a FaceTimer. I'm gonna get
That'll
a Liz
work.
cut out. That would be weird though. Basement.
But you know what? Since we're already clinched for our spot and nothing can be gained by my game, I'm gonna go ahead and give you a break. You know what I'm gonna give you a break from this week?
What's that?
My little picture that I send you every Sunday, and the song.
I don't need to see
Wonderful.
that message.
You gotta stick with tradition.
Okay.
You gotta stick with tradition. So, all right, man. I'm glad you're home safe. We'll do it again in a couple days.
All right, brother.
All right. Say.